fucking right. Well, hello MGTOW, welcome back to my truck. And like I promised you, I have yet another video here for you. And the topic of conversation this time is freedom. Freedom and how it relates to MGTOW, right? How it relates to the men going their own way philosophy. Not a movement, a philosophy, a way of thinking, a set of beliefs, a lifestyle. Anyways, so freedom, what is it, right? If we look into the dictionary, and we go by that definition, it'll say something like, oh well, it's unrestrained movement, or the ability to act, and so forth and so on, right? But the reality is that freedom is it means different things to different people. See, it's like money or love, right? These ideas that take root. They take root in the mind, and because of an individual's experiences, they end up meaning, or they end up being different things to different people. But that doesn't stop us from being able to quantify. That is, that it doesn't stop us from being able to add a certain degree of value and to measure this commodity, right? This commodity that we call freedom, because for as long as it can exist, we can quantify it, we can measure it, and if we can measure it, we can trade it. We can trade it for something else. What do I mean? Okay, well, so here we have this idea of freedom, right? And so if we call it freedom, we now have something that we created, right? And we can trade this idea, we can trade this thing for something else. I know I'm kind of repeating myself here, but bear with me. So we have freedom. That is, we have the ability to move about unrestrained, right? And in the marketplace, right? The marketplace, not the marketplace of ideas, but the marketplace of other commodities, right? Like staples, for example, a loaf of bread, or an automobile, or even bridges, or you name it, right? We usually trade our freedom, in the form of labor, for the acquisition of those other commodities, right? We go to work, we trade our hours of life for in exchange for the money that we get from our labors, right? Whether that labor is physical or mental labor. Usually, when we trade mental labor, we don't exchange it in hours of work. We don't value it that way. We value it by we negotiate. We tend to negotiate more on how we value how we are to value the commodities being exchanged. But usually when we trade our physical labor, we attach a certain small monetary value to the hours that we are exchanging with other people. Now, why do I bring this up? I say because we go out here and we trade our labor and our ideas, our intellectual capacities, for commodities, right? Or money, which is a representation of those commodities, right? Money is a representation of wealth. With money, we can have access to, or we can trade money for other things, right? For those commodities, we can trade money for, you name it, for sex. We can trade it for food, shelter, clothing, transportation, and other necessities, and things that are not necessary as well. So, in the act of trading our labor for these other resources, we lose our freedom. You see, we are giving up our freedom for these resources. And it's all fine and dandy until another individual shows up into our lives, right? They come into our lives expecting us to trade our labor for the possibility of something that has very little value, right? In fact, something that may be detrimental to your financial well-being, right? We exchange our time, we exchange our efforts, we exchange our labors as men for the favors of the females, right? And they may not have these favors, right? In the long run, usually do not have beneficial effects in our lives. So we're taking a double, triple whammy here. We're wasting time, we're wasting money, we're wasting resources in exchange for what, right? And so I ask you, right? When you bring another person in your life, you have to keep in mind, right? Is this going to help me out, right? Is this person going to produce? Am I going to be better off because they're here? And that goes on for men. You know, that's true for men or women, right? I'm not saying that you're going to be gay or anything. I'm just saying if you have someone else that wants to come into your life, as you know, offer you a sincere friendship or whatnot, but they're dragging you, right? Then you're exchanging your resources for something that has no value, or it has negative value. You see? So it's very important that we keep this exchange of time, this exchange of resources, this exchange of money, right, attention and everything else in mind when we deal with other people. Otherwise, we'll end up losing our freedom. What happens is we end up losing our personal freedom, right? Let's go back to day one of an imaginary scenario, day one in the world, right? And I'm not here opposing any religious ideology. This is just an imaginary scenario that we may have found ourselves as prehistoric people, and I just want to use it for illustrative purposes to better put my my point of view, or bring my point of view to you. Right? So day one in the world, a whole bunch of people wake up, right? Men, women, and children included. No one knows their ass from their elbow, and they're afraid. They don't know what's going on, right? Everyone's confused, and right away there are a whole bunch of problems, right? We have hunger, right? Some of us feel cold, others feel hot. There's some people happen to be for our illustrative purposes here. Some of them may be somewhat uncomfortable due to disease or whatnot. But anyways, we soon discover that, you know, we have to solve all those problems, right? If we want to make progress, and we yet don't have the idea of progress either. That's for us to come up with at a later time, very late time in the history of mankind. But we are awake. We are awake, and we do not know where we where we come from. Again, I'm not discounting any religious ideology here. We are awake. We don't know where we come from. We sit and wonder, why are we here? Where do we come from? Right? All these philosophical questions, and we're not even aware of, you know, our thinking. Right? We just are. We just exist. But we soon discover that the greatest problem that we will face is the problem of how do we distribute resources, right? How do we divide, or how do we distribute the things that are necessary for our survival, right? How do we share the women? Is that woman yours, or is it a communal woman, a woman for everybody, right? How do we distribute the land, right? Is it okay for one person to have this much while another group of people have, you know, this other quantity, right? How do we distribute ideas, right? How do we distribute things that other people created and came up with, as opposed to natural things? These are all problems of economy, right? And these are the greatest problems that we found ourselves facing in day one, at the very beginning of humanity, right? Again, this is all hypothetical. Please do not get offended by what I may have to say. I just want to use this to get a point across. I'm not saying this is true or not. But we have this problem we have to deal with, right? We have these problems that we have to deal with. The greatest problem being the problem of how we distribute resources. And so, you know, you go about, some people go about, you know, harvesting mangoes from the grove of trees or whatever. Other people, you know, I mean, farming is not in existence yet. We had to come up with that too. But then there were some people that decided that they were not going to dedicate themselves to fishing and hunting, right? And harvesting herbs and spices and legumes. They were not going to go and reach for the mango, right? Because that was too much work for them. These people, they decided instead that they were going to complain about their lot in life, because they figured that if they did that, other people would just give them stuff, you see? So this subclass of people was created, right, in our little hypothetical community. This class of individuals that did not produce, do not produce, and will never produce anything of value for the rest of society. They never came up with any ideas. They never went out and made an effort to dig a ditch, you know, for a fire pit or whatever, right? Their only method of survival is complaining about their lot and expecting others to surrender their freedom. They expect others to surrender their hard-earned labor in the form of resources to them. You see? And that, MGTOW, is where we stand today. These people have taken over. The weak, the lame, the lazy, the people that do not want to produce for one reason or another, right? Those people have taken over. to the point where it's almost unbearable for the working man, right, to make a living out here, right? Because these people have collectively justified their existence. And our income, that is the fruits of our labor, is corroded by what they take from us collectively. See? And so we can put a dollar value on our freedom when we say that if you get to keep 100% of your labor, right? Whether it's labor in the form of capital, intellectual capital, or or physical labor. When you get to keep 100% of what you produced, then and only then are you 100% free. But then say they take 25% tax, out of your tax, income tax or whatnot. Then of course you're 25% less free. You see? So we can quantify freedom that way. We can measure freedom that way. And right now, the average American works about half the year to pay taxes. That is the people that work. They work for about half the year to pay so-called Uncle Sam. See? So there's no full freedom in this country. You see? We only have partial freedom. And, since we're paying about 50% of our efforts, so that somebody else can sit back and relax, and yeah, some of it goes to the fans or whatnot. I say that we are about 50% free in the United States right now. See? And of course that includes, sales tax, excise tax, capital gains tax, property taxes of all kinds, luxury taxes, you name it, right? You name it. Every time that that your labor is confiscated by taxation, you lose freedom. You see, and so we can quantify freedom that way. And my message here to you is, do not bring any individuals into your life who will have a parasitic effect on your finances, because your freedom is at stake. You see? It's very important. Very important. You can measure relationships that way if you like. It's one way of doing it. Now, is this a socially acceptable way of maintaining relationships? Not for our personal relationships, no. For business relationships, yes, it's very acceptable here in the United States. We come together for our mutual financial benefit when we're in business. But when we're dealing, for our, with people in a personal level, somehow this is not accepted. And I say, watch out for your money. Do not bring any parasites into your life. You now know how to measure freedom, right? You now know how to measure freedom. It is measured in the amount of resources that leave you when you enter and try to maintain a relationship with someone else. Anyways, MGTOW, with this video, I thank you for watching one more time, and I hope that other content providers will continue to post videos regardless of the censoring that we are experiencing in this platform here. Thank you, and I'll catch you in the next one.